Hi, everyone. My name is Rana Haider. I'm a PhD candidate in the Language and Literacy Education program at Boise. And my study actually aligns with the previous presenters. Mine is qualitative, hers is quantitative, so that was interesting. So I will be flipping between both screens. Okay. All right, so this is my the outline of my presentation. And I'll jump into my lit review right away. So the integration of AI in education and particularly language and literacy learning has been nothing less than a paradigm shift. And I compare it sometimes to the invention of the printing press because it has introduced new dimensions to learning and language and literacy learning. And the purpose of, okay, no. So, oh, this is very confusing. So the main artificial intelligence technologies out there are the following. So we've got machine learning algorithms, we have natural language processing, and both of them culminate or they're used into the production of large language models or GPTs. I'll give you a quick overview of these technologies. So machine learning algorithms are computational methods designed to learn patterns from data and improve their performance on a specific task through experience. Natural language processing is a subfield of artificial intelligence that focuses specifically on the interaction between computers and human language. While the focus of the study is large language models, this represents a powerful intersection of machine learning, algorithms, and natural language processing. And these are what we know as tools like ChatGPT or Perplexity or Gemini. So what is the definition of generative artificial intelligence, which that's what large language models do. They generate text, and this is why we call them generative AI. So Gen AI refers to systems designed to create or generate new content, such as text, images, music, and they're based on their training parameters. And these tools have the ability to produce original outputs by leveraging patterns and information learned from vast amounts of training data. So we're all familiar by now by the concept. So familiar with the concept. So Gen AI in language and literacy learning is very interesting because it offers many opportunities, but it also presents a lot of challenges. So some of the opportunities, as the previous presenter mentioned, it can personalize learning experiences, it can enhance engagement and accessibility for learners, and there's some evidence that it can improve writing skills. But of course, we've got plenty of challenges as well. For example, we always, academic writing instructors know that we worry about precision, the authenticity of the content, students' voice coming through, as well, of course, as academic integrity and over-reliance on the technology. And eventually, if too much artificial or generative artificial intelligence content is produced, we will end up with of language expression and limited cultural narratives because the data comes from a very specific locations in the world. So when it comes to language learning, so when it comes to language learners in Canada in particular, the challenges are, there are a multitude of challenges that they have to contend with. And that's before the advent of artificial intelligence. So in Canada, adult multilingual learners face numerous challenges in language and literacy learning that can impact their integration, their employment prospects, and overall quality of life. One of the primary obstacles is overcoming language barriers. Sorry. Okay, language barriers, particularly in mastering English or French, which are the official languages in Canada. And this difficulty is often compounded by the complexity of idiomatic expressions and cultural references that can be particularly challenging for non-native speakers. Now, we also have hurdles like time constraints. So most of the time they have to finish a certain course or to master the language or at least become proficient in it within a limited time constraint so that they can go on to pursue degrees or job opportunities. The cultural differences, of course, also can present confounding variables in language learning. There are varieties in educational backgrounds, so different systems that they have to adjust to. They don't always have the best access to resources, and digital literacy might contribute, or the lack thereof might contribute to the limited access to resources, linguistic and otherwise. And psychological factors like anxiety and fear and sometimes feelings of shame and isolation also contribute to the challenges that they face. And eventually, lack of immersion opportunities. Many of the multilingual language learners in Canada stay within their communities most of the time, or if they do go outside of their communities, they don't get a lot of chances to communicate with other people in English. So here comes the AI barges on the scene, and we have a new tool for language and literacy learning. So the purpose of my study is in the rapidly evolving landscape of AI in language education and its potential to transform the learning process or learning processes. It's important that we understand learners' perceptions of these technologies. So we as educators have a better notion of how to integrate those tools in our curricula, which is essential for developing effective AI-enhanced language learning programs. And by exploring these factors or the factors that influence adoption and use of AI technologies, we educators and researchers can optimize their implementation in language learning environments. So my research questions are following. How do language learners perceive and integrate AI tools, particularly large language models like ChatGPT, into their learning processes? And what factors influence their adoption and use of these technologies? And in what ways does the introduction of AI or Gen AI in language learning challenge learners' existing perspectives, prompt critical reflection, and potentially lead to shifts in their approach to language and literacy learning and knowledge acquisition? I'm using two theoretical frameworks. The first one is the Unified Theory of Acceptance and Use of Technology. And some of the key constructs of UTAT are performance expectancy, which refers to, and this is a theory that helps researchers look into the factors that influence technology acceptance. So one of the factors or determinants of technology acceptance is performance. Will it be easy to use this tool? Effort expectancy, do I have to exert a lot of effort to learn how to use this tool? Social influence means how do people in my circle, in my community influence me to use it or not to use it? Facilitating conditions could be any number of things. They could be physical, they could be psychological conditions. So this one is a bit broad. And all of these constructs influence behavioral intention, whether to use a technological tool or not to. Now, transformative learning theory is a critical critical pedagogy theory. This is Mezirow theory. And it's a framework for understanding how adults learn and transform their perspectives through critical reflection and discourse. And these are the main constructs. I'll just very quickly go over them. So a disorienting dilemma is usually an event in the life or in the social life of a learner that gets them to critically reflect on their learning processes, and that would be the next step of the learning process. And then rational discourse happens with the teachers, within them, the learners themselves, and perhaps with the larger community. And then an action is taken as a result of, which is a transformative action as a result of this process. So this study, the participants in the study It's an exploratory case study. It recruited a convenient sample of 10 multilingual language learners who were enrolled in an English for academic purposes course in an Ontario college. I used convenient sampling. The participants were 8 females, 2 males, adults between the ages of 35 and 48. Most of them were university graduates. They already had degrees from their home countries. And one of them was a high school graduate. So as you can see, they're highly educated. They've been living in Canada for different periods. And they were all seeking enrollment in a university or college program after they finished their EAP course. Okay, so semi-structured interviews. I will skip straight to the data analysis and my results. So I conducted a comprehensive thematic analysis approach where I used both inductive and deductive methods. So I used part of the data analysis was guided by the constructs of my theory, and part of it was open and iterative, just extracting those themes as they emerged. So the first result was that people or the participants, they demonstrated a positive perception of the usefulness of AI. They thought it was a time-saving tool. They thought it was a language learning aid. They likened it to an assistant, to a teacher and a coach. They use it for research and idea generation, and overall the user experience was very positive. And they thought that it was very user-friendly. They appreciated the interactive nature of those tools and how versatile and accessible they can be. And they also, most of them mentioned or compared the use of ChatGPT or other LLMs to Google, like how much easier it is to go to ChatGPT rather than to Google information. And there was surprisingly very little social influence. So most of them were just personally motivated to use the tools rather than being influenced by their teachers or their friends. And just this counts. And they did display a lot of critical reflection. So many of the participants said that they hope to maintain their personal agency so that their learning isn't overtaken by the AI, and they use it as a supplementary tool. They expressed some skepticism about the validity of the information that it provides. And they did have ethical consideration or concerns about plagiarism. So they weren't sure whether they were plagiarizing or not in the way they were using it. But there was a lot of self-awareness in how they were using this tool. So overall, the use of ChatGPT and LLMs is considered a disorienting dilemma because it's getting people to reflect on their learning. There's a perspective transformation for sure. And mostly the participants I talked to did present a critical stance towards the use of AI. My conclusions: the integration of AI in education is a complex process that involves both opportunities and challenges. Participants generally show a positive attitude towards AI tools, recognizing their benefits while maintaining a critical stance. The impact of AI on learning processes varies among individuals, influenced by factors such as language proficiency, digital literacy, personal learning strategies. And I say language proficiency because the one student who said they did not use AI were the one person who had very limited language proficiency. And so there's probably a connection between those two. And what I want to highlight as well is the critical importance of teaching AI literacy in educational settings. And there also a suggestion that there might be a misalignment between teacher perceptions of Gen AI in the classroom and student perceptions, and we have to be aware of those perceptions. Thank you so much for listening.